Hi, welcome to the Depth and Distance Programming for Family Art Project. As many of you know, Family Art Project is a program in which families come together, families being chosen or blood, and we come together and we make art that is inspired by nature. And we are going to continue that through these times by coming together and making art inspired by nature. So to do that, today I'm going to first talk to the caregivers and give you an idea about what to expect for these programs, this program and this series, Depth and Distance. And then I will get into some storytelling, and then we will make some art. And true to Family Art Project spirit, everyone is going to be involved. So we've probably been in very close proximity together as a family in our homes, whoever we're quarantining with or isolating with, and it may have not always been the most intentional. Sometimes we might be doing different things. Today, for this project, we're going to come together and we each are going to have a role with the art making. So this first piece is going to be important for the caregivers. I'm going to read some bits and pieces of a poem called Wash Your Hands by Dori Midnight, and we'll leave a link to that full poem for you to have a look at afterward. It's absolutely beautiful, and it was the inspiration for this project. And it is called Wash Your Hands, and you, as the caregiver, are going to be taking a look at this poem and then creating your own from the structure of the poem. And afterward, we will be thinking about this poem and washing our hands and the ways we show care by washing our hands in an art project right after storytelling. So let me begin by reading you this poem. Washing our hands is an act of love. Washing our hands is an act of care. Washing our hands is an act that puts the hyper-vigilant body at ease. Washing our hands helps us return to ourselves by washing away what does not serve. Wash your hands like you are washing the only teacup left that your great-grandmother carried across the ocean. In another piece, she says, "It is always true that we should move with care and intention. It is always true that people are living with one lung, with immune systems that don't work so well, or perhaps work too hard, fighting against themselves. It is already true that people are hoarding the things that the most vulnerable need." In another piece, Dori writes, "It is already time that we might want to know who in our neighborhood has cancer, who has a baby, who is old with children in another state, who has extra water, who has a root cellar, who is a nurse." And later, Dori writes, "We are already afraid. We are already living in times of fires. When fear arises, and it will, let it wash over your whole body. Instead of staying curled up tight in your shoulders, if your heart tightens, contract and expand. Science says compassion strengthens the immune system." Lastly, Dori writes, "It is already time to think about stardust and geological time and redwoods and dance parties and mushrooms remediating toxic soil, to care for one another, to wash the fear away every time we wash our hands." So, as a caregiver, your active care for today is, which for this art project, you're already providing a tremendous amount of care, I'm sure, to which thank you, good work, you're doing great. But for this project, your active care, your role in this project is to create a poem just like Dori's, using the poem as a structure. And this poem is something you can post right by the sink as you all are washing your hands and you're thinking about why, and it's just will serve as a reminder to the bigger picture and why you're washing your hands and why it's so important. And so the task upon you is to Rework this poem for it to meet your family's specific needs. So I'll give you some examples. I'll walk you through my examples as we go through the structure. So the very first prompt is to say what washing our hands is. Washing our hands is a reminder to be there in love for others. Next, you'll want to say what washing your hands helps. So washing our hands helps. Washing our hands helps us to remember how much our health and safety is important. And just a reminder, this can be scaffolded for the very little ones, the maybe not so very little, for all the ages within your family. Of course, you're writing this poem knowing your family. And you can kind of bring up what's been coming up in conversation, and this just serves as an example of ways to scaffold the language. So again, washing our hands helps. Wash your hands like you are the one who is in charge of the sound of rain. Does that sound like rain? It is already true. It is already true that we are so connected. We are already, so maybe you want to say, we are already so strong as a family. When, and you might want to say what feelings you've been talking about with your children. So maybe they've been feeling anxious, maybe they've been disappointed, so when you're feeling disappointed, remember that your friends are still there and probably thinking of you too. If you're feeling, when you get scared, look out your favorite window and breathe. So when, then. When you're disappointed, remember your friends will be when you get disappointed, remember your friends are always there by phone call. Remember that your friends are also thinking about you. Remember what? Okay, so science says trees help us breathe, and we know many trees by name already. Maybe point out the trees that are by your yard or outside your window. It is already time. It is already time to rest, to care, and to fill our homes with art and wild imagination. So that's where this next piece of the project will come in. We're going to continue as we normally do with storytelling, and we'll be doing that a little bit differently. Because we'll be doing a lot of things differently here, of course. We're not in the KLC, we're not in our normal family art project space. So we'll be doing a lot of adapting, which is great because then that hopefully means that you can also adapt in your very own home. And that's kind of what the Spirit of Family project is all about anyway. So the next piece will be, yes, storytelling, and we'll get into the art making.